Welcome to Golf Smarter Mulligans, your second chance to gain insight and advice from the best instructors featured on the Golf Smarter podcast. Great golf instruction never gets old. Our interview library features hundreds of hours of game improvement conversations like this that are no longer available in any podcast app.
If you ever get to go there, and the people who've been there understand, there's really nothing like it. And unfortunately haven't been to the British Open yet, but I've been to championship events. I've been to very, very, very nice courses. There's just nothing like walking in that place and seeing the way they keep the grounds, the way they run the whole event. And even though that wasn't tournament week when I was there, it's basically the same way throughout the year. Nothing changes except the crowd is there.
With another interview from the archives of Golf Smarter, here's your host, Fred Green.
Our guest today is BJ Hathaway of Augusta Golf Instruction. BJ grew up in Augusta, Georgia, and like many of the kids who grow up in the shadow of Augusta National, home of the Masters, he was playing golf at a very early age. So I have lots of questions about this golf course. Welcome to the Golf Smarter podcast, BJ.
Hey, Fred. How you doing?
I'm fine. Thanks so much for playing on Skype with us today.
Oh, I'm enjoying the process here.
Teach you something new. You teach me something new. We're all set.
That's right.
The AugustaGolfInstruction.com is your website. And I'm intrigued, first and foremost, because it says Augusta. Now, Are you associated with Augusta National at all, or you're just based in Augusta, Georgia?
I'm based in Augusta. I've lived here majority of my life, so it's the only town I know.
Okay, well, that's fair. You can take that. I'm sure that the city fathers wouldn't have too much of a problem if you help promote the town in golf.
No, I don't think they mind at all.
So how much of an impact is Augusta National on the psyche of those people who grow up there?
It's tremendous, really. Growing up around a major in a small town, well, Augusta's second largest city in Georgia, but it still feels like a small town. And you unless you're from outer space, you can't grow up here and not be affected by golf and the excitement that comes to town that 1 week a year where, you've got the whole world looking at this one place, and it's just an amazing feeling.
And how many of the people who live in Augusta ever get a chance to walk the grounds or, with a club in their hand?
With a club in their hand?
Yeah, you think it was an easy question, huh?
Not very many. Not very many at all. But it's really changed over the years. Obviously, golf has changed. But when I was a kid, getting into the tournament either as practice rounds or the tournament was really not that difficult. But, now as golf has changed through the years, it's really become a commodity to, a luxury to be able to go out there, even if you live here, because there's just no guarantee that you're going to get a ticket. Of course, they have the practice round lottery, and it's just, like I said, becoming... If you get to go, you still feel lucky, even if you live here. So that's kind of how that's working now. And
did you go to high school there, too?
High school, grew up here. So, yes, sir.
Okay, so I'm curious, how's the golf team on the high school versus your football team or your basketball team?
Well, I don't know if you heard, but Augusta State University won the NCAA men's championship in golf this year. So...
Okay,
not too bad.
But is it? So is that college draw people from other parts of the country, or is it mostly locals?
Actually, when I played for Augusta State, and we had a couple players from Europe, and at that time we thought that was pretty cool because, at that time most college teams were just your normal everyday American kid trying to play golf, and we had a couple kids from Europe, and we were like, wow, this is pretty cool. But now, since that time, recruiting in all sports has really gone all over the globe finding players. So it's not just Augusta State, but Yeah, they've got probably 3 or 4 players from Europe and all over the world.
I don't know what that sound is behind you, but it sounds like you just entered Star Trek. It's like you're about to get beamed up in the middle of our conversation.
I might. If I do, I'll call you from outer space. We may have to pause here and let the train pass.
Oh, that's just a train. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No. If you get swept up, that's fine. But I don't mind the train.
It's really get louder and louder.
It really did sound like you were that beaming up segment of Star Trek. I was really like, "Whoa, what is going to happen? This is so cool." Now, I'm
talking to you on Skype from the train. I didn't forget to do that.
Well, we know now that trains have Wi-Fi. So, right. Have you ever gotten a chance to play at Augusta National?
I have not played. I did caddy there when I was a player for Augusta State, and not sure if the listeners are aware, but part of the caddying privilege out there was, and still is, if you caddy there throughout the year, you can play once a year. But unfortunately, that time, that was a side job for me. I had another job at a golf course, plus I was going to college, so I just could not really commit myself and my time to caddying full time. So I've walked the greens, read the greens, walked the fairways, but I haven't done that with a golf club in my hand. So that's something
Well, I now have 2 different places I want to go with this, and I do want to pursue this part of the conversation because we have a guy at the beginning of every calendar year. I have this guy who comes on the show to give us a report on different golf courses that he's played because he's he's the top 100 blogger. And he is trying to play the top 100 courses around the world as designated by, I think it's Golf Digest 2003. And he should be finishing it up this year or next year. We'll find out. I think he had 8 courses or 12 courses to go at the beginning of 2010. And he was pretty much going to be able to wrap it up fairly soon, except he never thinks he'll ever get on to play Augusta National.
Well, I would suggest maybe he could give Bill Gates a call.
I would love to say, but he has no access. But I don't even know what this guy does. I don't even know his real name because he writes this blog. He wants to be able to be honest in his blog about what he says about various courses. So so he's anonymous, and I honestly don't know anything very much about him at all. And what I do know, I'm not allowed to divulge, and I refuse to. But tell me about, as a caddy, who are the people playing golf at Augusta National from a caddy's perspective?
Really,
they're not locals, are they?
No, very few. Probably 25% of the.
And locals are probably people from Atlanta.
Well, there's some Augusta members,
okay.
And they used to publish the list, but they don't publish the list of members anymore. You probably would say most of those guys are obviously CEOs of Fortune 100 and Fortune 500 companies. So, and golf commentators from different networks and bankers and lawyers and people from around the globe who are I don't know, how they pick their members, to be honest.
Well, then you're not rumors, the person. But so what's it like to caddy for these people? Are they hackers like the rest of us, or are they very serious, very good golfers?
The ones I experienced were a mixture. Golfers who really don't play that often to guys who are serious, and low handicappers to mid handicappers, a few high handicappers. Really, they have a good mixture of players that come through there.
Oh, so as a college golfer who was really working on their game, you must have been very frustrated by seeing lousy golfers playing a course of that stature.
Well, I wouldn't say they were lousy.
Yeah, but you just wanted to go, give me your club.
Actually, I just wanted to take the bag and go play myself. But just being out there was such a thrill. At that time, I didn't care how they played. I just wanted to be a part of that whole mystique and walk the course and experience the whole aura of being there. And people say, "Oh, well, you guys, that's just you're just talking. It's not that." If you ever get to go there, and the people who've been there understand, there's really nothing like it. And unfortunately, haven't been to the British Open yet, but I've been to championship events. I've been to very, very, very nice courses, and there's just nothing like walking in that place and seeing the way they keep the grounds, the way they run the whole event. It's just, and even though that wasn't tournament week when I was there, it's basically the same way throughout the year. Nothing changes except the crowd is, there.
So are you saying walking it during the Masters, or walking it anytime? It's
just any time, because
really?
especially if you grow up there, or if you've grown up watching the tournament, you're always impressed with it. And if you walk a golf course that does not have one single weed on it,
wow,
you're in a special place. So.
Yeah. Are there any stories that come to your mind when you were caddying that are like great stories or outrageous stories? Things that what is your favorite story about caddying when you were caddying at Augusta National?
Probably for me, just being around the caddies. I don't know if you've read the book Freddie and Me. It's written by a local author who his family was a member. His father was a member of the Augusta National.
So that book's really about me, actually.
Oh yeah, actually it is.
Of course, I know that book. They wrote it about me. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, the book was about this young man's experience growing up, kind of being around the Augusta National and getting to know the caddy master. And I got to obviously spend a few moments with Freddie, who was the caddy master, and really, that was an old style, old world, well, not old world, but back in the day way things were done. You had a caddy master, and all the caddies had to kind of line up and wait for bags, and you basically sometimes you had to spend your whole day there, and you may or may not caddy depending on how busy it was, and there was a certain priority of caddies who've been there before you and longer than you, and so they had first pick. But just some of the experiences of being there and waiting for a bag and then looping, as they call it. And
what does that mean?
Just to caddy for someone. They just call it looping.
Oh,
okay. You can't make a loop around the golf course.
Oh, I see. Okay. I
don't
know the lingo.
Yeah. Just to be around those guys and kind of experience that part of golf as far as being a caddy. And not that I was never a professional caddy, but it's still a caddy out there was pretty cool, because a lot of guys, like I said, don't get to do that. And that was something pretty special.
Interesting. And what about golf? You talk about how special it is that once you're there, it's different. I had a similar thing happen to me during my vacation to Boston a couple of weeks ago. I went to a baseball game at Fenway Park, and I've been to easily over 20 different ballparks, and many ballparks I've been to multiple times because I was working with various teams over the years. And so, baseball was just so. I love baseball, and I'll go to a lot of games. But going to a game at Fenway was like going to my very first baseball game. There was nothing like it. I've never witnessed anything like it. It was just so special. So I get that sense, and I know what you mean about that. Here in San Francisco area, we have Harding Park, and right near it, right across the lake there, you can even see is the Olympic Club. And so their terrain is very similar, but they're very different golf courses. And as great as Harding Park is, it's not the Olympic Club.
Right. And that's It's the exact same feeling, yes.
And so what about other golf courses in Augusta? If someone's coming down to Augusta just to go on vacation for golf, are there great opportunities to play golf? Are there other courses that the public can get to?
No, we don't have any other courses.
Okay. So, so where does the team practice? Augusta State.
Yeah. Well, they have a driving range, but no. There's some really nice courses. Obviously, a few of them are private. One of the coolest private courses is relatively new, and it's called Champions Retreat. And if you guys ever get to play there, it's out towards Evans, which is in western part of Augusta. It's a championship course, 9 holes from Player, 9 holes by Palmer, 9 holes by Nicklaus. Bent grass greens, very nice, really, really nice golf course. But you have to be invited to play out there. Public courses, I would say the top 2 that you can play in Augusta are Mount Vintage, which is actually in North Augusta, and that's just across the river. And also the River Club, which is actually, again, just across the river, but you can literally see across the river, and there's just a bridge there. So we still think of it as Augusta, but it's North Augusta, which is South Carolina. And the River Club and I believe Mount Vintage, also both bent grass, which growing up down here, almost everything is Bermuda. So if you can find a course, obviously like the National, that's got bent grass, it's a very different playing experience. And those are 2 of the courses I would recommend if you guys are coming down this way. They're both fairly reasonable priced and probably 2 of the top maintained courses, unless you go to the Atlanta area. So then we've got an hour away, of course, we've got Lake Oconee courses, Great Waters, and let's see.
Well, if I was coming to Georgia to do a golf trip with some friends, or even with Golf Smarter listeners, would you say I should go to Savannah or Augusta, or I mean, where Savannah is definitely known for its golf. Atlanta is not necessarily known for its golf, and you're much farther inland. How far is it from Atlanta to Augusta if you're driving?
How fast do you drive, Fred?
The speed limit only.
Okay. It's about a 2.5 hour drive.
Oh, that's not that bad.
It's not that bad. It's actually about the same drive to Savannah. So Augusta's pretty centrally located as far as Savannah and Atlanta.
But Augusta's on the border of South Carolina, right along the river there.
Mm-hmm. If I was coming, I would want to play Augusta and Atlanta. And
Really?
The reason I say that is because Atlanta's got a lot of nice golf courses up there. And Savannah's got a few, and I'm not saying you wouldn't want to play in Savannah, but if you want to stay centrally located in the state, then I would play
No,
Atlanta.
I'm coming cross country, or I'm coming from the Northeast, and I'm coming for golf.
Mm-hmm.
What would you recommend?
Again, if it was me, I would stay, probably play a couple days in Atlanta and a couple days in Augusta, and that's just my opinion.
Wow.
I've been, many times to Savannah and love it. It's an absolutely beautiful city to visit and a lot to do there as far as if you like historical sites and the beauty of the Savannah River obviously runs down through there and into the ocean, so there's a lot of good things to see down there. But my preferences as a golfer would be Augusta and Atlanta.
Why? Better. You like the courses better?
Better course selection. Obviously, Atlanta's biggest city in Georgia, so
sure.
With all those courses up there, and then 1 hour away between Atlanta and Augusta is the Lake Oconee area, which is really, really nice golf. And you got
lots to choose from.
Probably 5 or 6 championship courses in that area. And I mean, really nice courses. So you could, realistically not drive more than 2.5 hours in one direction from Atlanta to Lake Oconee to Augusta and really play some very good golf courses.
Awesome. Well, let's talk about some very good golf instruction. Again, you are the Augusta Golf Instruction is your company, and your website is AugustaGolfInstruction.com, and we invite people to go check that out, see your video and things that you talk about. And you have a lot of different, not methods that you generally teach, but you've learned a lot of different methods. I know that you're associated with Medica's Golf Institute.
Right.
Chuck Evans has been on Golf Smarter numerous times, who runs the Medica's Golf Institute. And you have other groups that you're learning from as well. You talked about with me the golfing machine.
Right. And
Homer Kelly, which we heard about the book once, the golfing machine, Homer Kelly's golfing machine, the guy who wrote the book about that book, but his method as well. And then you're also new certification with Hank Haney. Is that right?
That's right.
So you have a lot of different methods from some of the top instruction in golf today.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason I've done that is I grew up a golfer first and foremost. So it wasn't, nobody grows up a teacher. You grow up as a golfer, and out of your own searching, you find out over many years of trial and error what seems to work and what doesn't. And so I decided if I was going to get into golf instruction, I wanted to know as much as possible about everything that I could. And that's not always possible. But so I decided, first of all, I want to understand the physics or the geometry of the golf swing, the science, let's say the science of the swing. I wanted to understand why things work the way they do in the golf swing, because as you know, Fred, there's hundreds and hundreds of methods that are taught today and been taught for hundreds of years, obviously. And some of those are opinions, some of those are facts, some of those are opinions mixed with facts. So there's just all kinds of information out there. So I said, well, if I'm going to understand the golf swing, first we got to understand scientifically why it works and why it doesn't work, and what works and how it works, and what all these things mean that those guys are talking about with plane and sequence. And so I said, well, then I need to find the guys who know. And everything that I had read about was the golfing machine, that was the ultimate in the science of the golf swing. So
yeah, if you're gonna break down the golf swing into hundreds of different little nuances, I guess the golfing machine would be the way to go.
Right. So that was one of my first ventures into the world of learning was to go through the golfing machine authorized instructor program.
You started there? That's pretty much how you started?
Well, my first certification was actually through Dan Schauger, who's one of the teachers for Mike Austin's swing. And Mike Austin was one of the record holders for one of the longest drives ever from a golfer who actually played on a course and not one who hit it down a runway. So that's where I actually started. So actually my second certification was when I went through the golf machine program. But part of the reason I went through that was because Mike Austin had heavily researched the golfing machine. So kind of one thing led to another in the sequence of that. And but I was still pretty fresh and new in the golf instruction business and learning process when I ran up against the golfing machine.
And what about Medica's Golf Institute? What did that do to enhance your teaching skills?
Well, that's an interesting story also, because the things start to tie together in the process of what I went through in learning. The golfing machine has some gentlemen in it who are what they call GSEDs, which is the Doctorate of Golf stroke engineering. So those guys are the top of the heap, so to speak, when it comes to the guys who understand, all the things that are in the book and the science of the golf swing. And there was one name that popped up fairly regularly was Chuck Evans, and Chuck. And so I said, well, I better give this guy a call. And then I saw that he lived down in Florida. So I called him, and I was, there's a certain reverence that at least golf instructors give to guys who are in the know, higher level than you are, and I'm sure there's probably the same in a lot of professions where you definitely respect guys who have been at it and know more than you do. And I'm not embarrassed to admit that someone knows more than I do. So I talked to Chuck a couple of times, and he was unlike a couple other instructors in that he was just very open and easy to communicate with and seemed like a normal person. Because, some guys are, they have a persona like, Darth Vader, where you're like, you don't want to get struck. You don't want to get struck by the lightsaber when you go near it. But,
you would hate to be setting up for your golf swing and hearing.
Oh, so yeah, when I talked to Chuck, like I said, he was really a nice guy to talk to, and actually answered questions, as opposed to some other people that I've talked to in the business who kind of keep their information secret. So when I talked to Chuck, he said, well, we have some instructor training of our own. I said, well, I've been through the GSEB program. And he was like, well, I used to teach the guys who taught the golf machine. Like,
that's Chuck Evans. Absolutely. He's been to every one of them.
So I said, well, if you used to teach, he actually, I think, was the director of education for the golf machine back then. And so he was literally the guy who taught the teachers. So I said, well, I better come down here and see what you guys are into. And so they had a similar experience to the golf machine training in that it was about a week long, and there was quite a bit of classroom time and testing and things like that. But just the way they format it was still the golfing machine information, but presented to us in a manner that was a little bit less confusing.
Okay, so with all of the mechanics training that you've been through, with all the different certifications that you have with different instructors and different instructors institutes, you're now kind of focusing on your instruction to be mental coaching. You're going for a different kind of certification.
That's going to be in addition to what I offer, yes. And one of the reasons I've done that is because working with some of the better juniors in the Augusta area, you notice that, and it's true with any golfer, but as you develop and your swing gets to a certain level, you're going to hit a plateau, and you're going to have days when you may shoot 82 and another day you shoot 72, and there has to be a reason for that. And so
it's called golf.
Well, it's called golf, but it's also called your brain.
Really? So now it's not your mechanics. Now we're getting away from mechanics. Once you get your swing to where your swing is going to be, now you're saying that the mental game is going to have a greater impact on your on the swing. And then I don't mean the swing, your swing. I mean the swing from one game to the next, as far as how you score.
Well, I think if you're trying to compete, if you're just a golfer who plays for fun or you play on the weekends, then you still need some mental coaching, because there's certain aspects of the way we all think that are maybe somewhat flawed at times. But
you think so, huh?
Well, I'm just guessing. I don't know for sure.
Good guess, BJ. Good guess.
But if you're going to compete and play golf, and I'm talking about junior golf, AJGA, and getting into college teams and playing nationwide tour and pro tour, obviously the way you think has a tremendous effect on how you play, because you don't play just once a week. You play 4 times a week, and then you've got to practice and go through all the things that you need to do, prepare. So the mental side of the game is really growing in prominence as we continue to study golfers and in the game itself, that you have to have some mental focus, obviously, to last 4 hours on a golf course. And then, speaking from experience, when you compete at a college level, that's a lot of pressure on someone who's young and still maturing as a person. So I think the mental coaching, especially for juniors, is important, because you want to help them develop the mental processes how they think their way around the golf course, how they prepare, and so that as they face those pressures, that they know how to deal with those things. And you see that in a lot of young golfers on the tours now, European Tour and American Tour. It used to be the guys who were winning were mid-30s, and now it's guys who are 19, 20, 21. And you go, how in the world are these guys competing at that level and winning? And then well, they've obviously been trained, in the mechanics of the game at an early age, but obviously they've gotten some sort of, either mental coaching or life coaching, where they've been able to handle that pressure and been able to think their way through the game and really handle all the things that come with being a good golfer. And to really help them develop, yeah.
Right, and you're being certified. Golf Mind Factor is a certification process that you're going through.
Right.
And they're at golfmindfactor.com. And this is, you were telling me, Dr. Carl Morris, who is one of Europe's leading Golf Mind coaches. And you say recently he's had some success with some of his students?
Oh, a little success. Won the last 2 majors.
Are his students. So Graham McDowell, who won the U.S. Open, and I'm going to let you say it, and the Open Championship, the British Open. I'm
afraid to say his last name. We'll just call him
Oosthuizen. Oosthuizen. He's also a student of Carl Morris.
Right.
There was something interesting that everybody was projecting on and conjecturing on during the Open Championship about there was on Oosthuizen's glove, and you know the story about that.
Yeah,
can you share that with me?
Yeah, the red dot on the glove, and I remember watching the telecast, and you'd see him prepare for a shot, and he would look down at his left hand, and then he'd look at the target, and he'd look down at his left hand, then he'd look at the target, then he'd step in and hit the shot. And I guess for the first day, the camera really didn't focus in on what he was looking at, so I just thought it was a bizarre thing he was doing.
Some logo of some sort. Right?
Yeah, maybe some sort of Zen-like state he was getting into or something, but I believe it was the second or third day they showed this red dot on his glove, and come to find out, because he did the same thing basically on every shot, that he would look at the glove, look at the target, look at the glove, look at the target, and that red dot was actually something that he and Carl Morris had talked about as a way to focus his concentration on that one shot and to help him sort of relax and get into a very short time frame zone where he was really completely focused on what he had to do and kind of zoned out from the crowd and the spectators and the cameras. And so that red dot enabled him to, I guess, focus directly on one concentration point. And sometimes in study of mental coaching and how the mind works, you can focus on a color that you can associate with some sort of idea, and that color actually brings in the mind, the state of mind that you want to be in just by looking at the color. So that was pretty interesting how he and Carl had kind of developed that focus point for him to obviously do pretty well for those 4 days.
And all of that was part of the training from this Carl Morris, who you are now being certified, and you're going to be using his methods as well.
Right, exactly.
And I'm impressed. You said you're the first American to be certified in this training.
Right. He has certified coaches in, I believe, Australia, Sweden, Germany, South Africa, Holland, Belgium. But I'll be the only one here so far.
Well, the first. It's always nice to be first. Well, I'm definitely going to see if I can get in touch with Carl Morris, and we'll try to get him on the show, because I like having different mental coaches on, and this one sounds very interesting, especially with 2 very successful students. But more importantly, we're talking about Augusta Golf Instruction, not what he's doing, but you've obviously learned some interesting things from him, and can hopefully translate that to your students as well. And you mentioned that you work with junior golfers. Do you also spend much time these days working with lady golfers?
Actually, that's been a good focus for about the last year, in as far as growing some groups for ladies. And most of what I've done with ladies is just group clinics, because there's no pressure to spend a commitment on finances or time, versus being in a group. You get a lot better social gathering for the ladies when they are in a group, and they seem to enjoy. Basically, what I've done is a 1-hour session, and do that for 5 weeks. And so every week we'll start with something simple and work our way through the whole swing. When we get done with 5 weeks, we may let them go play a couple holes together as a group, and really it's a good experience, because they get to know each other, make new friends. Excuse me. And so that's kind of been what I've tried to introduce to ladies, at least in the Augusta area.
What have you found to be the biggest difference of instruction when you're working with men versus women? Say beginner golfers.
Honestly, Fred, women generally tend to pay more attention than men do.
Interesting.
Yeah, they seem to focus better. They usually don't question things in quite the same way. Us as guys, we tend to want to let you know how much we know.
I didn't want to interject and say, yeah, we know it all, right? But it's basically what you're saying.
But I found ladies to be very pleasant in that respect, as far as good conversationalists, very easy to talk to usually, easy to work with, open to suggestions as far as, changes in techniques and ideas to help them improve. And not saying that I don't very much enjoy, my instruction with men, but just as a general rule, women seem to be a little bit easier to teach, if that makes sense.
I'm so glad you finished that sentence. If I had to just pull one little phrase out of this and say, on this week's show, BJ Hathaway says, I find women to be much easier to teach.
Yeah, there goes.
I'm glad I let you finish that sentence.
I'm glad you did too.
Yeah, and the other one was, I find women to be much more pleasant. Okay, so BJ, you married? You got kids? What's the deal here?
No comment and no comment.
Okay, fine. Thank you very much. Well, anyway, that was a lot of fun. Best of luck in these tough times in golf. I hope that you can find some more students, and that business is great, and we bring people down to Augusta to play golf. And if Golf Smarter listeners go down, they should definitely check you out and give you a call. Get a tour at the very least, right?
Right.
Go to your website. Go to AugustaGolfInstruction.com and see, say hello to BJ Hathaway and see if he wants to play some golf when you're down there.
Yeah, we be glad to have anyone come down and show you around and let you get a taste of some golf instruction Southern style. And Fred and I cut up a lot, but it is a serious business that we're in as far as golf teaching. And I do pride myself in that every student who comes through is getting personal attention and the utmost in my ability to help you improve. So I'd love to have you guys come visit.